I'm standing here at a time when the world went into a full lockdown. Residing in a small village among the beautiful mountains of Lebanon, I, like many people around the world, chose introspection during the pandemic lockdown. These were scattered periods of time over several months throughout the first 18 months. The government required that we remain away from our workplace and stay home for everyone's safety and well-being. I am a Shotokan Karate-Do instructor who could no longer attend to my students' learning at my dojo. Like many instructors around the world, I continued to train at home and teach online, but it was just never the same. Added on top of everything, the country's financial demise and political turmoil, and the situation really became unstable, unsafe, and insecure. My home became my refuge, where in addition to raising my children, it also became my only space for creativity and collective conscious expansion. I found solace in the act of crafting shakuhachi, the Japanese traditional bamboo flute. I am indeed not one of the most sought-after shakuhachi makers, but one thing I know for sure is that I have a deep love for the instrument, both as a player and teacher. I have thus come to create some really amazing instruments that I and few others have come to truly enjoy. I remember my first shakuhachi teacher, Stephen Rowland, back in 1998, telling me that in the old days, good players made their own instruments. And he also emphasized the fact that good players tend to be good makers. I was introduced to the art of shakuhachi crafting the day that Roland Sensei noticed that the rounded edge of the instrument that rests above my chin was not properly aligned. He recommended a minor adjustment, which he said he could do right then. Of course, I said. So right before my very own eyes, he proceeded to place the top portion of my instrument on his shakuhachi workbox, and with a large file, he proceeded to shave off the rounded edge to make it more fitting and suitable for me while playing. This moment opened my eyes to the potential of one day being able to learn this craft. I became more and more interested in making shakuhachi as Roland Sensei would show me some of the instruments he was working on. The more I saw, the more fascinated I became with the possibilities and began to nurture the seed by focusing first on my playing and awaiting the right learning opportunity. To expand on my karate and shakuhachi learning, I eventually moved to Japan, and Roland Sensei recommended I study shakuhachi with two teachers, Christopher Yomi Blaisdell and Kinya Sogawa, who also happens to be a world-renowned shakuhachi maker. While taking shakuhachi playing lessons with both Yomi Sensei and Sogawa Sensei, I started learning the basics of Jinashi Shakuhachi making on and off from about 2002. It would start with me bringing an instrument that I either wanted to adjust or improve the sound quality of, and Sogawa Sensei would instruct me on what to do. Eventually, I asked if it would be alright to make an instrument with him. He agreed and taught me as I observed him craft several instruments. They were great models to simulate. With several attempts on my own, I accumulated enough tools to carry out a successful craft endeavor. However, as my focus was on teaching, it had to wait for a later time. In the summer of 2016, while in Japan, Yomi Sensei offered me a root and bamboo for shakuhachi making that he harvested himself. So I asked Sogawa Sensei if he would help in crafting it. He agreed to do so, and during our next lesson, I observed him complete the instrument in just 2 hours. And that was basically my eye-opener, because my heart was ready, but I needed some kind of reassurance that I can do this on my own and delve into shakuhachi making. For the next 3 summers, I would spend close to 2 hours per week for up to 3 months, learning from him the process of Jinashi Shakuhachi making. He would explain to me in details all the intricate steps involved in the process from start to finish. He completed 3 instruments in that period. In September of 2018, I brought back with me 2 root end pieces of bamboo that I crafted into beautiful and amazing instruments. In fact, there is a project that I should be completing soon where I will actually use these instruments. Then, in 2019, I returned to Japan during winter for a performance and brought back 15 pieces of root end bamboo I acquired from Sogawa Sensei. He had harvested them back in the 80s when he was first starting out as a shakuhachi maker. This was great practice for me, as it allowed me to delve deeper into making instruments on my own. Then I decided to really invest in a stock of root-end bamboo. In the summer of 2019, I returned in August with about 45 pieces of root-end. In October, the Lebanese economy began to collapse and instability set in. And then a few months later, we were hit by the pandemic. This became the COVID-19 era. The world went haywire, upside down, inside out, but I went outside in. Like many people, I think, did. I found solace in delving deep into the process of turning 45 pieces of root-end bamboo into playable instruments. I have to admit that there were, about 10 experimental instruments. But then I eventually found my way, with trial and error, and lots of self-reflection and playing, until I eventually discovered what works for me, which I think is different for every maker. But for me, it felt that this process allows me to balance my knowledge with my intuition and experience in playing, which allows me to determine the best way to shape this piece of bamboo without having to add anything to it. And so the aim is to work with a process of reduction as opposed to a process of addition, which is what you would normally do when making a Jinashi shakuhachi. My instruments are known as Jinashi shakuhachi. They contain no filler to affect pressure points on the inside. The aim is to balance the airflow all throughout the instrument, and we can achieve this by opening the nodes to a certain amount, creating equilibrium in the airflow. I would determine the balance of the airflow by the quality of the sound and the response of the instrument to my breath. So each instrument was somewhat different, and I would treat each instrument individually and uniquely in order to bring out its inner beauty and, of course, as we see here, its outer beauty. This process to me is healing in many ways. It allows me to stay focused on the moment. The amount of in-person karate teaching was drastically reduced because first, I could no longer get to my dojo, second, the security crisis in Lebanon, and third, because of the pandemic, which trapped us at home for months at a time, and the only trips we were allowed to make were to the supermarket. In fact, we had to get special permits on our mobile phones, without which we would be fined. Furthermore, we were limited to car outings based on our car's license plate. If it ended with an odd number, we were only allowed on, let's say, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if it ended with an even number, then we were only allowed to drive on the remaining days. And Sunday was a mandatory lockdown for everyone. No one was allowed to be on the roads on Sundays, so you can see the gravity of this lockdown. Our lives were disrupted, families were disrupted, people's well-being and earnings were disrupted, and it was just a very challenging time. And I think now we are also facing difficulties, and my heart goes out to all. I think that if we are able to find something or some way to express ourselves and be creative, then I think it becomes our duty to do it. For our own sake, for the sake of our community, and for collective conscious well-being. I invite you to delve into playing this beautiful instrument, and I invite you to try these instruments when the opportunity arises. Playing for health, playing for peace, playing for healing, playing for prosperity, and of course, playing just for the sake of playing. Take care, keep well, and hope to see you soon. Feel free to hit the subscribe button so as not to miss my future videos.